Hey there folks, and welcome to Culturedex. My name is Nathan Ellingsworth, and today we're going to be talking about the newest Pokemon game, Pokemon Pokopia, which is this Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley sort of lifestyle cozy sim. It got announced a little while ago, and recently we got an extended trailer, and it gave us a look at some of the new details that we didn't already know. We saw things such as the ability to rescue Pokemon, accept missions. We saw a little bit more about the world, which seems to be decaying or dead, and we saw some characters, and frankly, we have so many questions. First of all, is that a ghost Pikachu? Was it Ash's Pikachu that died? Second, is that Snorlax covered in moss because the world ended so nobody had a poker flute to wake it up? And thirdly, does Professor Tangrowth actually have a PhD? On top of that, we just have so many things that we'd like to see in the game that we know happen in other cozy games, whether it's Animal Crossing or Stardew or anything else like that. There are just so many elements that make cozy games work. So here are 10 features that we would love to see in Pokemon Pokopia. First up is shiny Pokemon, which come from Pokemon games. Obviously, shiny hunting is absolutely huge, and it's always fun in a Pokemon game, and it just adds a lot of longevity. So we'd like to see when you recruit Pokemon in the game, maybe a chance, it doesn't have to be 1 in 4,000, but a chance to find a shiny Pokemon that will add a little bit of excitement to creating and also push you to just keep making things, or at least explore the world further and try things again and again to get those elusive shiny Pokemon. The cozy farming game Ooblets recently did their own version of shiny Pokemon, and it was really fun, and thankfully they weren't quite as rare. So we know it's something that can work in this sort of game, and we'd love to see it happen in something outside of the mainline Pokemon games. Next up is voice acting. If you watch the recent Pokemon Pokopia extended trailer, you'll see that the announcer was doing a voice for Professor Tangrowth. Now we're pretty sure that that is not going to be in the game, and this will be a wordless game, which is fine, it's not the end of the world, but we do know that Pokemon is starting to meet some resistance with the fans when it comes to voice acting, especially when scenes start to feel really empty, like, you know, that musical performance in Pokemon Sword and Shield, or some of the weird dialogue moments in Legend ZA. Now, in a big old Pokemon game, that can be quite a task, but this one seems smaller, or at least a little bit of a lesser scope. So hopefully this could be the time that Pokemon actually starts to take a step into the voice acting direction. It doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to be amazing, but it would just add a lot of life to this world and help us to connect with the characters. Next, we'd like to see regular events like in Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, because having something in the calendar helps to push you through the year. We don't know yet if Pokemon Pokopia is going to have a day-night cycle or a calendar or anything like that, but we do know that events help to kind of break up the monotony if you're just crafting over and over again. I really look forward to some of the events in the Stardew Valley calendar, and they definitely keep me going sometimes when maybe I've lost a little bit of energy. So it would be super cool to see how Pokemon creates events or just some sort of regular occurrences that help to add a little bit of variety to your own island. However, one thing we will say is we do not want there to be a strict time limit. Stardew's great, but it's really awful running out of time and feeling like you're rushed. This is a Pokemon game, and Pokemon generally lets you do things at your own pace. And even though we know this is different and it's going to be a crafting title, much like Animal Crossing or anything like that, it would probably be really good to just let fans decide when they go to bed, when they want the next day to happen, and let everyone do things as and when they would like. Next, we would love to see the ability to create our own designs, whether it's pixel art or just some sort of customization. This sort of thing really helps with a cozy game and definitely adds a lot of creativity to something like Animal Crossing. I mean, I remember creating little pixel art diagrams in Mario Kart DS and putting them on my cart. So I'd love to be able to create little pixel art designs, whether it's Pokemon, whether it's fashion items, or whether it's designs for the floor or the bricks or anything like that. This sort of customization works so well in other games that I'd love to see it here. Next up is something that is both in the Pokemon games and also something that we see a lot in Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2. At the time of making this video, we don't know who is actually developing Pokemon Pokopia, but we do know that Koei Tecmo are something to do with it. Now, we do know that there is a team within Koei Tecmo which are responsible for Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2, and we don't really know what they've been doing since then. So it could be the case that they're creating this, but it could not. However, either way, we know that the greater company is aware of Dragon Quest Builders and the things that worked from that. I don't know if you know this about me, but as well as being a Pokemon fan, I am a Dragon Quest sicko. I love Dragon Quest, so I played so much Dragon Quest Builders, and 2 especially is just a phenomenal RPG. And one of the biggest aspects of that is the combat. Obviously, it's not as big as crafting, but it does add a lot of danger to the game, much like you see in creative mode in Minecraft. We already know in Pokemon Pokopia, you're going to be learning moves from other Pokemon to do things like water plants and cut grass, so maybe you also get to do these to do some combat. Yeah, in this sort of idyllic future world, it would be a little bit weird to also be attacking the Pokemon when a human's not telling you to do so, but maybe there's some sort of aggravated mobs or some angry Pokemon that you need to calm down, especially when clearing out new areas. Either way, something to add a bit of danger or a little bit of excitement to the world would be really cool. Also, imagine taking on a huge boss in this world, and maybe it has a chance to knock down your creation. I mean, that would be really scary, and also I wouldn't want to lose my precious town, so that sort of thing sounds really fun. Another thing that comes from Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2 is character growth. Now, unlike Minecraft where you have a silent protagonist, Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2 both tell very distinct stories. They tell a specific story within the Dragon Quest timeline and also sort of explore a branching timeline. But either way, your character is really involved with the events and they actually help to create a new path. You'll see that when you create things, whether it's a new place for people to stay or something along those lines, you are both creating a relationship with the people that you meet, but also your own party. And it's really interesting to see how the characters grow and also how you are a part of them. We don't know if Pokemon is going to do something as crazy as this with Pokemon Pokopia, especially because the Pokemon themselves are sort of a blank slate, but it would be really cool to have, I know it's Ditto and you're playing as a Ditto, so it's probably not going to be doing monologues, but it would be really cool to see maybe the Pokemon around you change and the things that you create for them change the relationship with you and each other. Something like that would definitely help to make the world feel alive, and if it also has voice acting, god, that would be incredible. Either way, Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2 made a world that actually felt alive, and it made it feel like you had an impact to the people around you. So something like that would be amazing to see in a Pokemon game. Next up, we'd love to see some mini games, which, if you've ever played an Animal Crossing game, especially the older ones, you'll know is something can be really fun to unlock. When you played the original GameCube Animal Crossing games, you had a chance to unlock NES versions of some classic games, and it was a really fun surprise that was buried deep in the end game. And then in Animal Crossing New Leaf, there was also a version of Puzzle League which you could play, which is phenomenal. Now obviously Pokemon has its own versions of this. We have Pokemon Puzzle Challenge and Pokemon Puzzle League. So how cool would it be to craft like a Game Boy or an N64 and then sit and play versions of these games, maybe if you have Nintendo Switch Online, within Pokemon Pokopia. These sort of things are just really fun to uncover and can be really good to keep you playing in the end game if it's a buried secret. And also more people need to play Pokemon Puzzle League because that game rules. Next, we'd love to see a creative mode like in Minecraft. Now obviously playing the main survival mode does give you a little bit of excitement because you can lose things and there's so many things to explore, but sometimes you just want to build. You just want to build really far and wide and see what you can do. So we can already see that there's so many cool items in Pokemon Pokopia, as well as a lot of scope to create, your own Pokemon world, whether it's a Lavender Town or Fuchsia City or whatever. So a creative mode where you can use maybe the items you've already unlocked, maybe the materials you've unlocked, and just go away and craft and see what you can do without any inventory or item restrictions could be really cool and could also help to unlock your creativity when you go back to your island where you have those restrictions. It can be a side mode, it can be completely disconnected from the main game, or maybe you can show it off like your dream worlds in Animal Crossing New Horizons, but definitely something where you can just create without any limitations is a really good addition to these games and helps you to sort of formulate ideas and experiment in a way that you otherwise couldn't. Next, we'd love to see different areas to explore, which is another element that we saw in Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2, as well as in games like Ooblets and other ones, where it's cool to have different biomes, different areas, different types of nature and things to unlock, especially when you can find different materials, as well as new Pokemon. It'd be cool to find a volcano island in Pokemon Pokopia, and maybe bump into magma like in the original games, and obviously there's so much scope to do like a jungle or an ice place or anything like that, especially because we've got such a wide variety of Pokemon that we could put in there. Pokemon itself is always full of rich and diverse biomes, so Pokemon Pokopia would definitely feel quite weird if it was just restricted to the one island and just one weather system. We already know we can glide as Dragonite and we can sail around as Lapras, so hopefully that means that there's a lot to explore in this world and there's a lot of actually different biomes and different varieties of nature to find, because that would also add a lot of reasons to explore and more things to uncover, so it would really help to just keep us adventuring. Finally, one thing we'd love to see is collectibles, or maybe even a Pokédex. Pokemon Pokopia looks really relaxing and fun, but at the moment we're not quite sure what the actual impetus is to finish the game. Is there something specifically we need to do? Is there a main story? And maybe that'll come down the line. But one thing we love to see is collectibles, or the original Pokédex. Maybe we go around and we have to help every Pokemon in the region, or when we uncover a certain item on every island while doing different missions. Collectibles can be really fun things you can put in your home, they can be things you can craft, or they can just be cool little trophies like the things you pick up in Uncharted. We would definitely like to see some cool items tucked away, or at least some collectibles that we can tick off a big list, which is super satisfying. And we'd also love to see a Pokopia Pokédex of all the Pokemon that we're helping, all the moves that we're unlocking, and all of the things that these Pokemon are helping us to discover. It seems like it's going to be a really big world, so having something to keep us exploring, to keep us checking things off a list, and using that big old completionist part of our brain would just be amazing. But those are just our quick thoughts. What do you think so far of Pokemon Pokopia? What are your favorite elements in cozy games, whether it's Animal Crossing or Stardew or Terraria, as Pokemon Pokopia seems to be pulling from many different directions to create something a little bit unique in the Pokemon world. Also, what features do you hope to see in the game? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to Pokédex, our brand new Pokemon focused channel, and tell your Pokemon friends, and we'll see you in the next video.